I want to meet them tonight. My wife said it quietly, standing near the window like she already knew something I didn't. It was past midnight in Moscow, and the city lights barely reached inside my grandmother's apartment. I froze. Meet who? I asked. She turned calm. The people your sister owes. That was the first moment something felt wrong. My name is Elena Voss. I'm 32, and I've spent most of my life cleaning up my sister's messes without ever asking why she kept making them. Until now. We had arrived that evening, exhausted from the flight, carrying only what we needed. This apartment was supposed to be safe. My grandmother's place. The one thing our family never touched. But my phone had been buzzing since we landed. Missed calls. Messages. One after another. I finally opened one. Sell the apartment. Or we start collecting differently. No name. No signature. Just a photo attached. My sister, sitting across from two men I didn't recognize. Smiling like she wasn't the one in danger. I looked at my wife again. You knew? I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the door, picked up her coat, and said, "They're already here." I didn't move right away. My wife opened the door before I could ask anything else. The hallway light spilled in, and two men stood there exactly like in the photo, quiet, controlled, watching everything. Good, one of them said, stepping inside without waiting. You're awake. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear. Recognition. This wasn't random. Where is she? I asked. The second man smiled slightly. Close. My wife closed the door behind them like this had been arranged already. That was when it hit me. She hadn't guessed anything. She had known. Explain, I said, keeping my voice steady. She finally looked at me. No panic. No confusion. Just decision. Your sister borrowed money, she said. A lot. She used this apartment as collateral. That's not possible, I replied instantly. It's not in her name. One of the men chuckled under his breath. Ownership is flexible when desperation is involved. I stepped closer. She can't sell what isn't hers. My wife tilted her head slightly. She didn't sell it. A pause. Then she added softer. She promised access. The words landed heavier than any threat. Access to what? I asked. No one answered. But one of the men reached into his coat and pulled out my grandmother's original deed. I didn't touch the deed. I didn't need to. The crease along the edge, the faded stamp, the handwritten signature. I knew every detail. I'd memorized it years ago when my grandmother first trusted me with it. This never left my possession, I said quietly. The man holding it studied my face, like he was measuring something. You're sure? I turned to my wife. She didn't look away. She didn't steal it, my wife said. She didn't have to. A slow, cold realization began to settle in. Then how? I asked. My wife stepped closer, lowering her voice. Because you gave her something better. I searched her expression. I never. You signed the temporary authorization last year, she cut in. When your sister said she needed access to handle paperwork after your grandmother passed. I felt my breath catch. It had been routine, limited, controlled. I revoked that months ago, I said. The second man shook his head. Revocations don't matter if the damage is already done. My pulse slowed. Not panic. Clarity. Where is she? I asked again. This time, they answered. Waiting, the first man said. She insisted you'd come yourself. My wife's voice came softer now. She said you always fix things. I looked at the door, then back at the deed. And for the first time, I stopped wanting to fix anything. I took my coat. Not in a rush. Not hesitant. Just certain. Let's go, I said. The men exchanged a glance like they hadn't expected that. My wife didn't react at all. She just stepped aside and let me pass. The night air hit colder outside. Moscow felt different now. Not dangerous. Clear. They led me across the street to a parked car. Black. Clean. Engine already running. Of course it was. She inside? I asked. One of them opened the back door. She didn't want to wait long. I got in. My sister was sitting there, legs crossed, staring at her phone like this was just another inconvenience in her day. She didn't even look up at first. "Elena," she said finally, almost bored. "You took your time." I studied her. No fear. No shame. Just expectation. "You used the apartment," I said. She shrugged. "I leveraged it. It's not yours." "It doesn't need to be," she replied. "You always make things right." There it was again. That assumption. That role she'd built for me. I leaned back slightly, watching her now instead of reacting. "How much?" I asked. She smiled, like I'd just confirmed everything she believed about me. "Enough that you won't say no." Silence settled between us. Then I said, calmly, "You're right." Her smile widened. And that's when I decided exactly how this would end. I didn't argue with her. That was the first thing she noticed. Usually I pushed back, questioned, tried to understand before acting. That was the version of me she relied on. Not tonight. "Tell them I'll handle it," I said, glancing at the men in the front seat. My sister relaxed instantly, like tension she'd been hiding finally slipped away.
"See?
"I knew you wouldn't make this complicated."
Of course she did."
I stepped out of the car without another word. The cold felt sharper now, but my thoughts were clearer than they'd been in years. My wife was still standing across the street, exactly where I'd left her. Waiting. "You're helping her," I said as I approached.
She didn't deny it.
"I'm helping you see clearly," she replied. I studied her face.
Calm.
Focused. Not emotional. That was new. "You brought them here," I said. "Yes." "You let this happen." "No," she said softly. "I let it finish." That landed differently. I looked back at the car. My sister was laughing at something on her phone, completely certain everything was under control. "She thinks I'll pay," I said. My wife nodded once. "She always does." I exhaled slowly. "Good," I said. My wife's eyes narrowed slightly. "Good." I looked at her, then back at the car. And for the first time, I wasn't thinking about saving anything. I was thinking about exposing everything. I got back into the car like nothing had changed. My sister barely looked up. "Took you long enough." I handed the deed back to the man in the front. "We're not doing this here." That got their attention. "Then where?" he asked. I met his eyes in the mirror. "Somewhere official." My sister frowned slightly. "Elena, don't complicate." "I'm simplifying it." I cut in. "If I'm paying, I want everything documented. Debt cleared. No loose ends." The men exchanged another glance. This time interested. "That's reasonable," one of them said. My sister hesitated. That was new. "You don't trust me?" she asked, almost offended. I looked at her, steady. "I trust patterns." Silence. Then I added, softer, "And yours are expensive." She forced a laugh, but it didn't land the same.
"Fine," she said.
"We do it your way." I nodded once. The car started moving. My wife didn't follow. She stayed behind, watching, like she already knew where this was going. I pulled out my phone, typed quickly, then locked it again. No one noticed. Or if they did, they didn't understand.
Good.
Because by the time we reached somewhere official, this wouldn't be about her debt anymore. It would be about everything she never thought I'd prove. The car stopped outside a government building. Cold stone. Bright lights. No shadows to hide in. My sister leaned forward. "Why here?" I stepped out first. "Because you said you wanted it clean." The men followed, slower now. Inside, the lobby was quiet. Too quiet for this hour. But the lights were on, and the desk was staffed. Expected. My sister's steps faltered behind me. "Elena, what is this?" I didn't answer her. I walked straight to the counter and placed my phone down. The screen lit up, recordings, messages, transfers. Every conversation she thought was private. Every lie she told. Every time she used my name without asking. The clerk didn't react. Just nodded once. That was all it took. The two men stiffened. "This isn't what we agreed," one of them said. "You wanted documentation," I replied. "So did I." My sister grabbed my arm. "What did you do?" I finally looked at her. really looked. I stopped protecting you. Her face changed. Not anger. Not fear. Something worse. Understanding. You set me up, she whispered. I shook my head slightly. No, I said. I let you finish. Behind her, footsteps approached. Official ones. And for the first time in her life, she had no one left to hide behind. She didn't fight them. That's what stayed with me. No screaming. No excuses. Just a quiet step back as the officers approached, like she finally understood this wasn't something I could smooth over. This is a misunderstanding. One of the men tried, voice controlled again. The clerk slid the file forward. It's all here.
Forgery.
Coercion. Unauthorized use of property rights.
Patterns.
Always patterns.
My sister looked at me one last time.
Not angry. Not even hurt. Just empty. You really did it, she said. I held her gaze. You asked me to fix it. They took her then.
Slow.
Formal. Final. The men didn't argue anymore. They walked out without another word. Their interest on the moment control slipped away. Silence filled the space she left behind. I didn't feel relief. Not immediately. Just a strange stillness. Like something loud had finally stopped. My wife stepped closer beside me. You didn't save her. I exhaled slowly. No, I said. I ended it. Outside, the city lights hadn't changed. But I had. For the first time, I wasn't carrying her choices with me. And that felt heavier. And lighter. All at once.